Good morning and welcome back to the channel. We had an incredibly early start this morning, Pops and I. I think I was up for 4 o'clock this morning.
4 o'clock, yeah, I was as well.
Picked Pops up and we've driven down back to Staffordshire Wildlife Hides. Now we're not here today for the kingfishers, although everything in us is dragging us towards that hide because it is an absolutely first-class experience in its own right. We're actually here to photograph little owls. Now Tim's put together a photographic opportunity for little owls and he's currently using pop-up hides. I've seen some wonderful photographs coming out of these hides. Tim's put some photographs on himself and he got in contact with us and asked us to come down and have a look at this hide and bring it to you. So if little owls is something that floats your boat, come along for the journey and see what we see. Hey, look at that.
Give us a wave, Pops.
So we're all settled into the hide now, and I have to say these hides are incredibly comfortable. One of the things that Tim has stated is that the pop-up hides are not the long-term plan. He's actually got a portable hide, which is a trailer hide, and he would put this into the location, and that's very much a luxury hide in the same fashion that the kingfisher hide is in. But unfortunately this time by the time he'd found the little owls, they'd already started nesting and he didn't want to set the trailer hide up for fear of disturbing them. So we've got 2 pop-up hides. So I want to just turn the camera around so you can see where Pops is. So we've got my hides here and Pops is just through there. Say hello, Pops.
Hello, Pops.
So that you've got a small port at the front with a little bit of scrim netting over it, and there's a small hole through the scrim netting for you to pop your camera through. Both Pops and I are using exactly the same setup today. We've got the Z9 with the 400mm lens with the built-in teleconverter. That teleconverter just gives us that flexibility to be able to switch between 400mm and 560 should we want a frame filling shot. And from a couple of the test shots that I've taken on the various different perches, I think that's going to be an absolutely adequate focal length. We've got a variety of perches in front of us. I'll give it you from left to right. So on the left hand side we've got a piece of farm machinery, so something that you would probably find in a very agricultural area, and they're the areas that you tend to find little owls. So it's a really in-keeping piece of agriculture. It looks a bit like a plough or something like that, but it's red metal, and a really nice contrasting man-made item for a natural bird to be perched on. Next to that we've got a dry stone wall, and as we know, little owls favour dry stone walls. In fact, they often nest within dry stone walls, so that's a really kind of natural perch. Then we've got a post with a gnarly nail sticking out of the top of it, and then we've got a horizontal log, and the horizontal log will be an area that I'll be really kind of focusing on and trying to get the little owl running along it, because where a little owl can, they will run along the surface as opposed to flying, and you get some quite comical shots when that presents itself. So I'm really pleased that Tim's put out a horizontal log to capture those moments. And then next to the horizontal log, so the horizontal log is the closest to the oak tree. There's a huge, very old oak tree, and that's where the little owls are nesting at present. So we're tucked well away, out of sight. In fact, it's just arrived. Well, that didn't take long at all. We were in the hide for 7 o'clock, and that's 12 minutes past 7, and the little owl has just arrived. I think this is set to be an absolutely incredible morning's photography. So the little owl's been in again, came in then and was promptly chased off by a crow. It wasn't happy about the crow being there at all, and I can completely understand that, because obviously if the crow discovers the nest, is a real threat to the chicks. So as soon as that crow came in, he scarpered. Well, the crow really mustn't have had a lasting impression, because it only took 5 more minutes for the little owl to show again, straight back onto that perch. The centre perch, which is the vertical post with the nail on, seems to be a favoured perch for the little owl, and that seems to be the direction that it's going. It's back again. Now that little owl appeared to be darker in coloration to the first little owl that we've seen. So I wonder if there is a possibility that both male and female are taking it turns to drop down onto the feed. I hope so, because that would mean that we've got an ever so slight chance of getting the 2 adults together. They're coming thick and fast now. Literally, they're dropping in, grabbing some of the mealworms and flying back to the nest. So I would say an educated guess would suggest that those chicks have hatched, and that they're actively feeding them now, which is why they're constantly taking that food back to the nest. Well, we did think it, didn't we? Two birds down at the same time. They were too far apart at that occasion for me to get them in the same frame, but one was on the horizontal log, one was on the vertical post. Both been seen down at the same time, so they're definitely both actively feeding, grabbing mealworms and taking them back to the nest for the chicks. Well, that's been frantic, absolutely frantic. I've lost count with how many visits we've had now. It's been absolutely non-stop. I'll check in with Pops in a minute just to see how many he thinks that we've had, but it has been absolutely relentless with them constantly to and fro from the oak tree to the perches. That was absolutely superb. Up until now, they've been favouring the horizontal log and the vertical post, and the whole time I've been waiting for them to use the other props, particularly that farm machinery. I really like the look of that at the start of this session, and I was just hoping that one of them would drop onto it, and that's just happened. It was a fleeting moment. It didn't stay there very long at all before flying back to the oak tree, but I've got a shot of it on the farm machinery. So we've been in the hide now for, I would say, probably about an hour, and we've had well in excess of 20 visits. You know, the beauty of when you're getting this many visits is it really affords you that opportunity to experiment. Because you're getting so many opportunities, you can take risks, you can go for some shots that you perhaps wouldn't ordinarily go for, and that's what I'm beginning to do now, is experiment with my settings. Setting wise, some shots I've been shooting at wide open at f2.8 with a very fast shutter speed, trying to capture that that action of the bird moving from one post to the other or flying back to the tree. The shutter speeds at times have been in excess of 5,000th of a second. At other times, I've had a really wide aperture going all the way up to sort of f12 with a slightly slower shutter speed of around 800th of a second. And what I'm aiming to do with those shots is capture some of the environment that sits behind these perches, because we've got some beautiful rural rolling hills of Staffordshire, and I wanted to try and show them within the shot. So the wider aperture should afford me a little bit of the detail in the background. It certainly won't be sharp enough for you to make out exactly what it is, but it'll give a different texture to the background. My word, the flight shots are incredibly challenging. One of the issues that we've got at the moment is that the oak tree is just slightly back from the perches that are in front of us. So when the owl is flying back to the oak tree, invariably it's got its back to us as it's flying away. That and the speed of these little owls, you know, for a small bird, they're incredibly fast. So you've got to have a really fast shutter speed to give you any opportunity of freezing that action and getting those flight shots. Well, after a frantic hour and a half, it's fallen quiet for the first time this morning. However, what I would say is, although the little owls have fallen quiet, the skylarks are absolutely singing a beautiful chorus from all directions around us, and they're absolutely beautiful to listen to. If you've never listened to the call, the song of a skylark, they're absolutely exquisite. Well, it's taken about half an hour since the crows scared them off, but they're back. 2 very quick visits to the horizontal log, which is the closest perch to the tree, but they're back, which is an absolutely fantastic sign, because I was beginning to think that the crows had spooked them and we weren't going to see them again. Yes, 2 on the same perch. I've managed to get them in the same photograph. It's not going to be an award-winning photograph because they both had their backs to us at the time, but I've got both of them, both adults, on the same perch together. What a fantastic opportunity that was, and that's certainly a shot that I've not got within my portfolio. Oh, they're absolutely stunning little birds. Magical. One of the things that I would absolutely mention to you, you could hear the crow is sat at the top of the tree that the little owls are nesting in. There is no way on this planet the little owls are going to come out while he's sat up there. One of the things that I would mention to you is you cannot leave the hide for any reason. So once you're in, you're in. And you wait until Tim arrives back on the gator that we arrived on this morning, because the little owls have become accustomed that when the gator's here, people are around, they stay out of sight. When the gator leaves, it's safe, there's no people around, and they can come out. And so to kind of support the longevity of the hide and make sure that you don't ruin it for anyone else, you've got to stay within the hide. Now, if you're somebody that can't manage that, it is worth taking into account. We're pretty much finished now. I can see Tim on his way in the gator. He's just on his way up the lane. So the next time we speak to camera, we'll do our final piece and give you a kind of an outlook of how amazing this morning has been. Wow, 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 wow. Tim's just picked us up in the gator, and that is an experience in itself. I tell you what, the lane going up there has got some of the biggest like ruts in it ever, and I'm looking at it as we're going approaching him, and Tim's having a conversation with me. You can tell he's done that run a million times because he's not even focused on it, and I'm thinking,
We're going to go.
We're going to go. That's exactly what I thought. Oh my God! Yeah. Any minute now we're going to be tipping up.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't film me going up there. My face would have been a right picture. Just great.
But we're back now, and you know, we're just spending a couple of moments reflecting on what an incredible experience it has been photographing the little owls. You know, if you've never seen a little owl, and I imagine the majority of the UK population have never seen one before, and I genuinely don't think that the video will do it justice, because it's very difficult to get a scale on the video.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah,
they're 100%. Called little owls for a purpose, for a reason, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got long legs, little body, and long legs, a bit like you.
Thanks, Pops.
I wanted to say that all morning.
And massive big eyes.
Oh yeah, yellow,
just like mine. Hey, it's a good job. He does wonders for my confidence, just Pops.
Just bring you down to earth now and again. You know, that's what I mean. That's what my job is.
Oh, but yeah, it's been difficult to do pieces to camera with you in the tent, because you're not really au fait with the vlogging equipment, are you?
No, not at all. No.
I thought we'd just take this opportunity really to get your thoughts on what you think that it's been like up there today.
You know, it's just been non-stop action that has just blown me away completely. Looking at these beautiful little owls with those exquisite yellow eyes, and when they fix you, you feel as if they're looking right down your lens, and it's a game of who blinks first loses, because they just stare and stare, and it's mind-blowing. It really is. It's absolutely awesome.
It is, isn't it? And then you're right, that stare, it does feel like they're reaching down the barrel of the lens right at you, and they can see you, don't they?
I just felt as if they were reaching in and you know, into my soul.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous stare.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, blown away with that.
So one of the things that I spoke about when on camera was the settings that I was using, and kind of experimenting with the settings for various different shots. And obviously normally we would ask you about settings, so do you want to talk a little bit about the settings that you applied for today?
Yeah, funny enough, you know, the beauty of that hide is that you've got a wonderful uncluttered background.
Yeah.
So you can play around with your apertures, not having to worry whether you're including a load of branches and trees and all sorts of things. So I was experimenting between f2.8 up to f8.
Yeah.
And speeds to match that, to keep my ISO fairly low, trying to keep it round about 500 and below.
Yeah.
I'm not frightened of going above that, but it just allowed you to do that, and because a lot of it was perch shots, you could bring your speed right down.
Yes.
And your aperture right up.
Yeah.
And that was a privilege, that, to be honest with you, because quite often, you're battling between speed and aperture and your backgrounds.
Yeah.
There is absolutely stunning. There is nothing in the background that will show up on these photographs.
And one of the things that I mentioned that kind of links into that nicely was the frequency of visits that you got from the owls afforded you that opportunity to experiment, didn't it? Because it wasn't a case of, it comes in, you've got to grab the shot, you've got to nail it, so you go with your go-to settings that you're going to get the shot from. And at times that kind of stifles your creativity, whereas an experience like that where you're getting, I dread to think how many visits we've had today.
I started counting, and once I got over 12, I gave up, because that was in the first, 20 minutes?
I thought you were going to say, because that's how many toes and fingers I've got.
Well, I could have used my teeth as well, although I've got a few of them missing. You cheeky son.
You're
See
right.
what I have to put up with?
I definitely stopped counting at 30.
Is that how many fingers and toes you've got?
I'd reached I had definitely reached a point where I thought, we've had plenty, plenty of visits.
Yeah, lots and lots of visits. But the thing that was fascinating was that the visits themselves were fairly lengthy.
Yeah.
It was only towards the end, gone 11 o'clock, where they were coming in, snatching, going out, coming in, snatching. But prior to that, they would come in and they would spend several minutes, which you could afford to play around with.
Yeah.
You weren't worried that they were just going to come in, snatch and go, like they did at the end. Fantastic experience, that. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would say is that if you're somebody that's got a zoom lens, and I'm thinking the 180 to 600, that would probably be your absolute ideal at a hide like that, because particularly, these past few weeks where we've had really bright conditions, I mean, we've not had harsh light today, we've had a lovely light today.
No, but it's soft light.
Yeah, but it's been bright, so we've not had to worry about our ISOs.
Yeah.
And so that focal length would have definitely given you more to play with than a prime lens would have done, wouldn't it?
Correct. Yeah, you're right. It's something I probably would have used if I brought it along with me.
Yeah, because one of the reasons that I mentioned that is because I was trying to get some flight shots, and that was incredibly challenging with a 400.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I gave up.
Yeah,
I gave up on flight shots. A lot of it was because they were flying away from us.
Yes, they were.
They're not the most pleasing shots, are they? Flying away from you. And it was just the one opportunity towards the end where it flew sideways.
That's right, when it went onto the farm machinery and then came across.
But in all honesty, I'd given up on the thought of trying to get flight shots at that point, so I missed it. I hope you got it.
Well, on the back of the camera, it certainly looks that way, and I think that's one of the reasons why. I was listening to you then talk about your settings, and your shutter speeds were significantly lower than what I was using, but I was constantly thinking I might be able to get a flight shot. So a lot of the time my shutter speeds were between 2,000 and 5,000 of a second to try and capture that action. And I was almost worried about going down to a slower shutter speed for fear of that impacting and taking away those opportunities.
Yeah, I started off at a thousandth of a second right at the very beginning. Yeah, and then quickly realised that I didn't think there was an opportunity there to photograph them in flight. Yeah. So that's when I really started to play with my apertures and bringing the speeds right down and concentrating on perch shots rather than flight shots. Yeah. 6 or 1.5 dozen other, you take a chance or you don't.
Absolutely, and I think there's lots of things that come into play when you're photographing like that, which kind of separate the two of us, because we're so alike in many ways with our photography, but actually there are aspects of it where we do things slightly different from one another, and as a result of that get different results, don't we?
And rightly so. We should be doing that.
Yeah.
We don't want portfolio identical. We both try and experiment and produce different kind of shots. Yeah. And that's healthy.
So the kind of the final thing that I want to mention about the hide, and I did allude to it in the hide there, was that we were in pop-up hides, two tents side by side. We did have a little porthole that we were able to communicate with each other through, and that is not the long-term plan for the Staffordshire Wildlife Hides. For the little owls. Tim is currently putting together like a gypsy caravan that will have a toilet, it'll have all those luxuries that the kingfisher hide has got, and the aim will be moving forward for next season, once he's found the little owls, he'll put that trailer into position in preparation to be able to rent it out to people, to give them that luxury hide experience that Tim is very much, that's the niche, that's the kind of foundations and what he's putting together here, isn't it?
It is, but I'll be honest with you, I found that pop-up hide quite comfortable this morning.
Yeah, I did as well.
You
completely.
know, I had no qualms about it. There was a nice chair inside it.
Yeah.
There was plenty of room.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't. I mean, we've got pop-up eyes ourselves, and
Yeah.
they're very compact, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
In there, you got plenty of room, and it also stopped you from tormenting me and things like that. You know.
He loves it. He loves it.
But what I will say, you know, I mean, we did manage to put the ports down between us, but we were whispering
Yeah.
between each other because we were frightened to death of disturbing the little owls, and we didn't want to scare them off. We
Yeah.
wanted them to keep coming in, so we were just a gentle whisper. But the majority of the times, every time we had a visit, and we looked at each other, I bet our grins were identical.
Yeah, completely.
Because yours was right across your face from ear to ear, and I'm pretty certain mine was the same. Because it's, you know, I love my wildlife like you do.
Yeah.
And I love all types of wildlife. I love animals, but I have a very big soft spot for birds, because that's how I started as a young kid.
Yeah.
Was looking at birds. And the funny thing is, people always say to me, what's your favourite bird? Do you know, my favourite bird is everyone. Everyone that I'm looking at and photographing,
yeah.
That's my favourite bird.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have favourites. They're
Yeah.
all beautiful and stunning in their own rights.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So if you want to get booked into this hide, there'll be a link to the website below, there'll be a link to the Facebook page, and then the other thing that I'd ask you to do is, on your social medias, can you go and check out Tim Lee's photography? I'll put his Instagram link on the screen as well, it'll be in the description. He's an absolutely fantastic photographer by his own right, and he does not get anywhere near the recognition that he deserves, and he puts a lot of time and effort into his photography, and there's some quality images out there, so
Certainly is.
go and check them out. Have a look at Tim Lee's photography. It is absolutely second to none. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it us a like. If you're not yet subscribed, where on earth have you been? We're fast approaching that 10,000 mark now. It's always been my goal to hit 10,000. I definitely think we're going to do it this year. So if you wouldn't mind clicking that subscribe button, costs you nothing, pushes me closer to that 10,000 mark. I'd really, really appreciate it. You want to show that extra support? We've got to buy me a coffee. Link will be at the bottom and in the description. So from the stunning Staffordshire... Whoa, he's going to bite me. From the stunning Staffordshire Wildlife Hides, yet again putting on a first-class day. From those absolutely breathtaking little owls. Until next time, ta-ra.